Okay, so it is time for my first ever live broadcast. It's kind of crazy, I'm not going to lie, to talk to basically myself, but I know that you guys are going to be popping in and popping out over the next 2 hours. Something that's really, really exciting that we have going on today is that I will have two guest authors in each segment. This is our first portion of the live broadcast, and I will be chatting with you guys for the next half an hour, and then the lovely Jamie Magee is coming on at 12:30. I will do a little more chatting from 1 to 1:30, and then South African author Carlyle Labuschagne is coming on at 1:30, so that's super exciting. I have so much stuff to tell you guys, so let's kick it off with some housekeeping. You should have on your screen, as you have everything pulled up, at the top of your screen, if you hover your mouse, you should see a grid of a bunch of little squares. In there, when you click on that, should pop up a Q&A, and via the Q&A, you can ask me or any of the other guest authors questions. So I hope that you do that, because that's how we're going to be doing our giveaways. It shows me who asks the question, and so we'll be able to call you out and say, you know, so-and-so, you win X prize, and then you will just email me and we'll get it all sorted out as far as how to get your prize to you. So please make sure that you use the Q&A and ask all kinds of fun questions, and we will kind of go from there. So for anyone who doesn't know me, maybe you're coming in because Jamie invited you, or Carlyle, or any of a number of people, because we've been spreading the love about this event everywhere. My name is Stormy Smith, and I'm currently sitting in my writing room. This is kind of where I hang out all the time. Behind me is my awesome globe map that I have pins in everywhere that I know that I have readers. So that's lots of fun. And then you can also see my crazy scribbles over here, and those giant Post-it notes pretty much plaster this whole place. And that's how I work through my outlining but not outlining process when I'm writing. I am right now I am a young adult / new adult fantasy and paranormal writer. I'm going to be broadening my horizons in the future, but my first series, called the Bound series, is considered new adult, which means it has college-aged characters, and fantasy and paranormal. So we've got witches, shapeshifters, all kinds of fun immortal races that I half made up and half stole from other things, because, you know, there's nothing really new out there. So the reason that we're here is because 1 year ago today, I officially became an author. And so this is my baby, and this is Bound by Duty. This is the book that I published last year at this time. And it's been such a crazy ride, you guys. Like, I never knew that I wanted to be an author, and I never knew that this world existed, and I didn't know that I was going to love it like I love it. In the last year, a lot of really crazy stuff has happened. Among that, I published this guy, which is book number 2, Bound by Spells. And I actually just finished the first draft of the 3rd book, which is Bound by Prophecy. So this story arc is a trilogy to start with, but my hope is that this world continues on for a really long time. Where should we start? Well, the first thing we should start with is, if you are new to me and to the series, know that Bound by Duty is free right now. On all retailers, it's free. And I've never offered it for free before in the year that it's been out. And I only just pulled my books from being exclusive to Amazon and posted them on all platforms, including iBooks and Kobo and Nook and Smashwords. So they're everywhere. So I hope that you go, and I hope that you check it out, and I hope that you love it. Maybe you won't, but I hope that you do, and that you continue on to read Bound by Spells, and know that book 3, Bound by Prophecy, is slated to be out mid-November. So that's a little bit about me, and making sure you know that Bound by Duty is free. So the way that you win prizes today throughout the 2 hours is you ask questions. And I'm seeing some questions pop up on the side of my screen, which is really awesome. And I'm going to get to you guys in just a second. But I'm going to be randomly choosing people throughout the program, and I'll let you know, or if you pop off, I'll message you later to let you know that you've won something. We'll be doing the same thing when the other authors join us, and they all have individual prizes that they're giving away. So today I'm going to be giving away ebooks of Bound by Spells, because you can get the ebook of Duty for free right now. And I'm also giving away one set of both print books in both this segment and in the 1 to 1:30 segment. So I hope you come back and hang out and be part of this craziness. Let's see, where should we go? Please do comment if you have any sound issues, if you're having any challenges hearing me. Hit me up in either, I think there's a group chat, or just in the Q&A, shoot me a note, but hopefully everything is going well. I'm going to dig into some of these questions, because even though I can tell you all kinds of random stuff about me, I'd rather talk to you guys about what you want to talk about. So let's start there. It looks like I've got one from Tia Miller, who asked, where do I get my inspiration? So it's strange. Being an author is strange, Tia. You don't really know where you get parts of it. When I first got the idea for Bound by Duty, I was driving to Omaha. I had just finished reading Rachel Higginson's Star-Crossed series for like the 5th time, because it's an amazing, amazing series. And I was just sitting there thinking, like, what if this would have happened? What if that would have happened? What if she would have had these powers instead? And the next thing I knew, the first chapter of Bound by Duty started writing itself in my head. And that's kind of what I found with all of these books, is that something triggers the idea, and then the words just start forming in my mind, and I can't stop it. It feels a little crazy sometimes, but it's still pretty awesome. When I'm actually involved in drafting, so I kind of have the idea for the book, but I'm not entirely sure where it's going to go, then it's a lot of songs, and it's a lot of life. Like you become an author, and you just pay a lot of attention to what's happening around you, and how things evoke emotion from people, and the things people to connect to, and little things. You can hear a song for the millionth time in your life, and if you're at the right point in a draft, all of a sudden it fits perfectly, and it has an entirely different meaning than you've ever known, and you know exactly what needs to happen. So that's kind of where it's all starts from, I would say, is just really paying attention and questioning everything, and just wondering how it can be new and different and recaptured. So I hope that that answers your question. Let's see. Maggie asked, what do you mean by broadening your horizons? A new genre for a new project, or a new age category? So Maggie, you're inquisitive, I know you. I've had a lot of fantasy. So I started writing Bound by Duty in July of 2013. Actually today, July 23rd of 2013 is when the idea first came to me. And so that's when I first started writing the book. And so that means for 2.5 years, by the time I get done with Prophecy, all I've lived in is this very heavy fantasy world, and I love it, and I love my world and my characters, but it's a lot to pull together, and you do a lot of world building, and you have to be able to answer a lot of questions. And because I am somewhat anti-outlining, it doesn't really work for me. It means that I just spend an intense amount of time thinking. So when I decided that I wanted to broaden my horizons, I thought, you know, I already write new adult. A lot of people consider my series paranormal romance, and so why not just do a new adult contemporary romance? That way I'm still age appropriate for the people who have been reading for me, or reading with me, and for all of the amazing schools and librarians and kids that I've gotten to know, but I can write something that doesn't have as intense of a commitment. And I already have the idea, and I already know what this story is about, and no, I'm not telling you. But I'm going to start writing it when I finish Prophecy. I'm going to take a little break and celebrate the holidays. I'm hoping that Prophecy's out by about November 15th, and then it will be game on with my first ever contemporary romance, and I'm very, very excited about it. So thank you, Maggie, for asking that question. Let's see. So one of my favorite people, oh, Benjamin of Tomes, I love him. He asked, will there be a character called Ben introduced in book 3? And is he extremely hunky and beautiful and magical? Oh, Ben. I love you. There's not a Ben in book 3, unfortunately, but there are so many books in my future, my friend. You, I'm sure, will make it there. Promise. So let's see. Chantella asked, speak a moment on character development. How did you develop the characters in the Bound series? Do they share aspects of your personality? I would have to say yes and then no, and I will explain. So when I first started writing Duty, I didn't really know how to be an author. It wasn't anything I ever wanted to do. And so I knew that I loved to write. I've always loved to write, but I didn't understand really the process outside of the fact that I had read so many books that you kind of just inherently know how a book should work. And then I didn't trust myself. So you start writing a book and you're like, A, do I even know what I'm doing? B, does this entirely suck? And C, like, am I even going to finish this? So when I first started writing, inherently, it's almost not a choice to make your character something like you. So as I was going through, there's a lot about Amelia that's like me. If I was standing up, you would see that she looks a lot like me. At 18, which is the age that she is in the book, she acts a lot like I acted at 18. Some people get a little annoyed with Amelia and her power outbursts and her emotional outbursts, but she's gone through a lot, and I think that when I rewound myself to being 18 years old, I made a lot of dumb choices and I did a lot of dumb stuff, and I think we all do at 18. And so I tried to be as real as I could with her, but I pulled on a lot of the same emotions that I knew that I felt at that time, though I did not have magic or a betrothal to an immortal prince or Aiden, but kind of, because that leads perfectly into the fact that Aiden is a lot like my husband, because I met my husband 3 months into college when I was 18 and he was 19, and we have been together ever since. So this year actually marks 15 years that we've been together and 7 years that we've been married. And so there are a lot of lines that, as my husband listened to the audiobook, he doesn't like to read, so that he listened to the audiobook, and he'd come inside because he'd listen when he was mowing the lawn and be like, you used my line? I was like, like, I haven't experienced a lot of guy game. I got to work with what I've got. So there is a little bit of that. And then Bethany is what I would say is a combination of all of my favorite best friends throughout my life. My very young best friends, my current best friend is Southern. And so a lot of people say, you know, do Southern people actually speak like that? And some of those key catchphrases from Bethany actually come from my friend Christina. And I'm going to rewind back to Abe for a second, my husband, and say that I get a lot of comments and almost like strange reviews because people feel like it's creepy that Aiden calls her doll. And that is actually something my husband calls me. So it's not creepy to me, though I guess for other people it might be. So I hope that that answers your question, Chantella. Please comment again if it didn't. Let's see, Kelly Martin. Hi, Kelly. What do I love most about being an author and writing books? Oh my, there's so many things to love. This job is crazy. I have a full-time job too, so this is a job that I do on nights and weekends and when I'm not having a social life. But it never feels like that in a way of like right now. I mean, I'm sitting in a room by myself, but I'm talking to all of you guys and I have this string of crazy comments and stuff happening on the side, and I'm always engaging with people. And part of what I really love about being an author is being able to do that across the globe and to be able to talk to people. Today I was talking on Instagram with someone in China, and yesterday I sent a file to a girl in Brazil who couldn't get Bound by Duty in her Amazon store. And it's just an amazing, amazing thing to be able to be so connected to people who read your words and love your words. And like, I'm kind of getting misty thinking about it because it's just mind-boggling to know that you can affect people and that you can write a fantasy that affects people like that. So I think that is probably my most favorite thing about being an author, is really just being a part of this community, and then also getting to know other authors and being part of a tribe of people who understand what it's like to sit in a room by yourself for hours on end and have a bunch of online friends and gush over rankings and reviews. And when people really get you and get your story and you are spinning in your chair like fists in the air because someone made the perfect comment of that underlying subtle thing that you put into a character's personality, all of those things are utterly fantastic to me. Let's see. So Jennifer asks, how do you actually break into the world of publishing and how hard is it to do? Oh, do you have a few days, girl? We could talk about this for a long time. So the act of publishing a book is really as simple as having it properly formatted, properly edited, a good solid cover, a good story, and then hitting publish on varying sites. The actual act of publishing is not that hard. Writing a book is hard. Making sure people know you wrote a book is the hardest part. So I'm lucky. I spent 7 years working in a really great advertising agency in Des Moines, and I learned everything that there was to know about marketing and how to reach people, and it's just really a part of my blood. And so I work my tail off doing events like this and promo and everything that I can do to make sure that people know that I wrote a book. But I read a stat that said over 1,000 books a day are uploaded to Amazon. And so if you think about that and the amount of content people have to choose from, you have to make sure that not only are you ready to write a book and to keep writing a book and to keep writing quality work that you don't just shove out to get out, but you're also ready to put the hours and the energy and the money into marketing. And you're going to have ROI and you're going to make it back, but it's a lot of work and it's a lot of effort, and this job is definitely not for the faint of heart. You're going to work a lot of hours and it's going to be hard, but it's going to be so rewarding. So if it's something you're considering, Jennifer, I hope that you do. And if you ever want to ask me questions, please feel free. Let's see. Okay. Who else do we have here? So my friend Sarah's on my street team and I love her, and she makes sure that I am doing all the things I'm supposed to be doing. Sarah says, how does my hubby feel about me living in this fantasy world all the time? So my husband is very scientific. He's like the king of practicality. So when I told him I wanted to write fantasy books, he wasn't overly surprised because that's what I read. But there have been times where I've come downstairs and actually said, can you brainstorm with me real quick? And he kind of looks at me like I'm crazy, but he's figured out that my fantasy brain likes to really overcomplicate my stories. If you've read any of my books, you know that I have lots of secondary characters and subplots and all kinds of crazy stuff going on. So I will sit with him and bounce ideas off him, and I'm always spinning 12 directions this way, and he'll kind of look at me and be like, Stormy, just have them do this. And I'll be like, oh, well, that was really simple. Thanks. And then I kind of want to throw a punch him a little bit, but he's always right. So I think that he's okay with it. There are times where he says, put down the device, we're going for a beer. And I'm always really happy that he did. So that, I think he's cool with it. He's a pretty supportive guy. I kind of like him. I'm going to keep. Oh, Kaylee. Kaylee is a rebel writer, Kaylee Marco. I'm going to put a plug in here that if you like contemporary romance, you should go look up Kaylee, because Choose Us is one of my most favorite, and she's writing a spinoff right now, and I love it because I'm already beta reading it. So there. But anyway, Kaylee wants to know if there are any hints on who I'm going to kill off next, because we have lots of conversations about the fact that us fantasy writers in my group, the Rebel Writing Group, we like to kill people off, and Kaylee generally has heart attacks about it, because in contemporary romance, not a lot of people usually die. No, Kaylee, I'm not telling you who dies. So let's see what else. Book crushing. My lovely Kelly Nagy wants to know if book 3 is going to have some more naughty times. Well, what I will tell you is I write clean new adult fantasy, Kelly. So we can only be so naughty, but you will see a little more steam between Amelia and Aiden, but we're keeping it clean. We got kids reading these books. I lost a question from Tia. I tried to click on it and then it disappeared, but I think that she had asked me something about my books and a little bit more about them. So Tia, if you, hopefully I'm answering your question right, but just really quickly for everyone, Bound by Duty, right here's my girl. The short version is Amelia is a girl who knows that she's an immortal. She knows that she is something called an elder. She knows that she has power, but she has always been told she can't use it, shouldn't use it, needs to control it, tamp that stuff down. And she deals with a lot from a family point of view. Her mom died. Her dad went a little crazy after her mom died. So she's dealt with a lot. And she finally gets away and she's at a community college and she's just trying to kind of sort herself out. And as that's happening, she meets Aiden, who is human and is very persistent and very pursuing of her. And she's pushing him away, but she really can't resist too long. And through this process, her magic is growing and it's becoming so much that she can't control it. And as the book progresses and her relationships with Bethany, her best friend, and Aiden and her brother Cole, all of that starts to kind of snowball and turn into things that she never expected. And she learns that she is part of something bigger, that she's part of a prophecy. And so the crux of the book basically is, I wrote a book knowing that I didn't want a girl's worst choice to be between two boys. I don't agree with the love triangle approach. And so I wrote this book and it's called Bound by Duty because at the end of the story, her choice is, do I do the thing I want to do? Do I have the life I want to have that I think I want, which is a normal one? Or do I do my duty? And do I do the thing I'm supposed to do? And fulfill this destiny that I have. And so that is really the main plot line of the book. And the romance side of it, it's there, but especially in this first book is more of a subplot. So I will say that it takes a few chapters for me to get the world built and to give you the background that you need to really understand what's happening. So bear with me just for the first like 20 or 30 pages, and then you'll dive right into a lot of good action. And I think that you'll hopefully enjoy the characters. Let's see. Do I design my covers or did someone else? Chantella asked that. And I have a cover designer. I've actually had two. My first one is a girl named Tony, and I worked with her at the agency that I worked at in Des Moines. And I came to her with this crazy idea for this crazy book and said, you know, it's my first book and I can't pay you that much, but can you help me? And she said, you're not going to pay me at all. I only do things because I love the project and I think it's worth my time and I'm just going to do this. And she came back to me with this gorgeous cover. It was one of the first ones she showed me and it set the tone for the entire series. Tony wasn't able to do my second cover, but my friend Rachel Higginson, her husband Zach owns a design company. He does all of Rachel's covers, but Zach actually did Bound by Spells, and it looks amazing, and I love it. And then I've gone back to Tony. She was able to come back and help me with the prophecy cover. So I am actually anticipating my prophecy cover this weekend, and I'm so, so, so excited. So that is my covers. I cannot design anything. I can't even like draw with a crayon. So that's totally not my game. Okay. What do we have here? Oh, Jennifer, thank you so much. Jennifer just commented in the Q&A that she had not read any of the books, but she just downloaded Bound by Duty. I hope that you love it. And let's see. Maggie asked me, how was Utopia? And how did it feel to be nominated for an award? So for those who don't know, Utopia, it had a YA at the end because it was an amazing conference for young adult authors. And Gosh, it was amazing for a lot of reasons, but I think the number one reason it was amazing was because I'm part of a writing group called the Rebel Writers, and there are 6 of us, and 5 girls and 1 guy, and truly, I can't tell you how important these people are to me. They are my best friends, and they support me through all of my crazy, because I have like 12 kinds of crazy, and they are so amazing. So in that group is Kaylee Marcoe, Reagan Clare, Teresa Kay, Kat Nichols, Alex Tuttle, and myself. And Rachel Higginson is our honorary rebel because she brought us together. And I got to meet all of them for the very first time in person. So after a year and a half of them being like part of my everyday, sometimes every hour life, I actually got to be with them for 5 days, as well as part of our street team. So Lenore and Carla and Kelly and Lee, it was so phenomenal. So Utopia was amazing for that reason. It was great to be with other authors and to have people who understand all of the crazy parts of this very solitary world. And then the award, yeah, oh my God. So at Utopia, they do awards, and you have to be nominated, and you have to be nominated by a panel of other authors, which, like, well, I can't even tell you guys, like, you become an author and you read and edit everything because you can't stop your brain from looking for the word that and just and misplaced commas and all the things you look for in your own manuscript. And so to have other authors read my very first book ever, which even now I was just rereading parts of it and being like, oh my gosh, like I need to take this out and that out, and if I could just rewrite this whole damn thing. To have them choose my book and put it in a category called Best Book Hangover, which is, you know, you finish a book and you don't want to leave the world and you just want to stay there forever, and you don't want to pick up another book because you don't want to leave those characters. To be sitting there with someone like Amy Bartol, who ended up winning the award, who writes the Cricket series and is a traditionally published best-selling author, it was insane. Like, it was just insane. I was like the most nervous person ever before those awards, even though I knew there was no way I was going to win, just to have my name on the screen with those names. It was crazy. Okay, so there you go, Maggie. Let's see what we've got there. So Sarah asked, is Cole based on anyone, perhaps an overprotective brother of my own? He's not. You know, I have a little brother. His name's Zach. He's pretty amazing. But I've never had an older brother, but I felt like, I don't know. Cole is one of those that he's not based on anybody. He's just him. Micah is the same way. Micah is kind of the 4th main character of the story, and those are 2 people who just from the moment I wrote them had their own persona and their own everything, and it wasn't my choice who they were going to be. They just were going to be who they were. So yeah, that's cool. Okay, what do we got here? So it's 12:27, which means that Jamie's coming on in 3 minutes. So I'm going to answer one more question. Okay, Courtney, this is a fun one. I said earlier that writing wasn't always what I wanted to do. What did I really want to do? Funny enough, I was doing the job that I really wanted to do. My entire life, I'm going to date myself, and half the people on this thing are probably not going to know what I'm talking about. But when I was in high school, I'm 33 years old. When I was in high school, Melrose Place was on TV, and the entire cast like worked at an ad agency. And I always thought it was the coolest thing. And I knew I loved marketing, and I knew I loved writing. And so I said, hey, that's my goal. That's my life plan. I want to run a team in an agency. And I had been managing my own team for almost 2 years. I worked in public relations and media relations, and I loved it. I really did. I loved it. And then this story came, and I didn't need it anymore. And I've always been very aspirational and very career driven, and everything was about me accomplishing that goal and being the best at that I could be. And I just didn't need it anymore. And that's when I knew that this was right. Like, I am a big worry wart type A freak out person. And when I stopped needing that job, I knew that this was the right place for me. And so I took a different job, and I work at a different company in Des Moines, and I like my job just fine, but now it's just the job that pays the bills so that I can do this thing that I love until I get it to a point where I can go part-time or maybe even full-time as an author. So thank you, Courtney, for that. Okay, so thank you to everybody who's asked me questions so far. I'm going to dial in Jamie Magee, and we're going to get started with Jamie's fun. Oh my gosh, I forgot to give you guys away stuff. Okay, let's do that really quick. I hope that you're on. I'm just going to pick some random names. So, Tia, you asked me a question. If you are still on, email me at authorstormysmith@gmail.com, and I'm going to send you an ebook copy of Bound by Spells since you got Bound by Duty. I'm also going to do that for Jennifer. Jennifer St. I probably said that wrong. Email me, and I will send you Bound by Spells as well. And let's see. So Street Team members, I can't give things to you because I already give things to you, but I love you anyway. And Ben, you already have my books. Let's see here. Shantella, I saw you on here. If you email me, I will send you a print copy of both Bound by Duty and Bound by Spells. So, okay, let's do that. You guys email me, and I'm going to dial in Jamie, and then we're going to start our next chat. And I'm not very good with technology sometimes, so if anything happens, you know, bear with me. So we're dialing in Jamie. She should be joining us shortly, and we'll start chatting, and then you guys just chime in with any of your questions for Jamie. Should be good fun. And I'm looking through your questions to see if there's anything else I should answer while we're waiting. Let's see. Okay. I'm going to send Jamie another little note. Sometimes the Google Hangout things don't pop up super quick. So Shantella also asked that because this is a part-time job for me, how do I handle my writing efficiently? Do I have a schedule, or do I plan how I write? And I do. I don't often write during the week because I'm also in grad school, so I try to reserve the weeknights for doing homework, hanging out with my husband, just kind of getting life handled. I do a lot of marketing stuff during the week for the books, and I try to write in large chunks over the weekends. So I will write 4 or 5 times for 4 or 5 hours.
I think I did.
Hi, Jamie.
Stormy?
Jamie, another little note. Sometimes the Google Hangout things don't. You have to turn the broadcast off on your computer, and then that will. Also asked that because this is a part-time job for me. How do I handle my writing efficiently? Do I have a schedule, or do I plan how I write? And
sorry, did this work?
I think it worked.
Did it? Can you see me? I can't see you. I'm blind. Okay, it says I have read. And yes, okay, I got it.
You are good. Okay, so Jamie, what we've been doing is I don't know if you have it pulled up on the right side of your screen, the Q&A. If you click on the left side of the screen, there's a little blue button that says Q&A, and it should pop the Q&A open on the right. And there are some questions in here for you, I saw.
All right.
Yeah, already. People were excited for you to come on. So let's start, Jamie, by you talking a little bit about you. So tell us like what you write and about maybe your favorite series that we're going to focus on today.
Oh, okay. So I used to call myself a young adult author, but I've expanded out of the genre, so it's kind of hard to to go there. Most of my novels are young adults, and they are fantasy and urban romance stories. I have contemporary novels that skirt across the new adult element, and then I have a paranormal adult serial series that is wicked fun to write. So I kind of dance on every floor I can find, just as far as But today this young adult conference. Happy birthday, happy book birthday, Stormy. Two books that we were talking about were Insight and See. And Insight is my baby. It's my debut. It's the one that brought me into this beautiful universe of imagination. It was just a daydream that I wrote down and never looked back. And Insight, as I was writing that series and I would come across secondary characters, they would be really thick and full, and I wanted to know what was going on with them. And they ended up becoming other series. That was where the C series came in. I knew that those characters were great. When I met Draven Michaels for the first time writing an Insight, I don't want to know where he came from. So I went and find out, and he became a series. And then as the series moves on, there's characters that I just want to know more about, and so there was more books. So basically, my young adult novels are, my readers have penned it, The Web of Hearts and Souls. And web is a really good word for it because it's a complicated web. Like, it's almost like life. There's 1 degree of separation. This character will be present in this story, but he's not the primary one, but he's the one that's making you swoon in this other story. And if you're reading Insight, you could be a fantasy romance reader and really enjoy Insight, but not really like to read urban novels. And like, See, it's an urban paranormal romance, so it's set more in like where we brought the paranormal to reality instead of me creating a world. But these two worlds collide. So I have people who have only read the C series, and people who've only read this Insight series, but they still get the story. If you read them all, you get like a widescreen version or a behind the scenes version, or you pick up more Easter eggs as you read along. You're like, I know where she's going, or something. Yeah, those make for fun beta notes when they come along. But that's kind of who I am.
That's awesome. So today for you, we are doing some giveaways. We're doing 1 signed print version of Insight, and then 2 books of like See and Witness.
Yeah, Witness is the See right now you can get free on, I'm pretty sure, every ebook site that there is. You can get free, the debut. Both the first and the series are free on all those sites, and I'm going to give away Witness, which is the 2nd book in the C series today. So I'm going to give away that too.
That's
and if there's
exciting.
Yeah, fun stuff.
I love it. Okay, so I know that there is a question in here. Let me find it for you, Jamie. So Jennifer wants to know how many books you are currently working on.
Oh my God, that's a loaded question. Okay, well, today, or this week alone, I was working on Edge because we have, and that's my serial. So it's really hard because I'm always writing a new one, editing one. This week's gonna go to the editor, and polishing one that just came back from the editor. So Edge is everywhere in my life, and I just finished and sent off to some great people a brand new young adult novel that's never been anywhere. So we're going to see where that goes. And then this week I decided to write more in the Web of Hearts. So we started a new book it's going to fall in sync with the C series. One of the twin brothers is going to get his own front stage. So working on a lot.
Yeah, so I'm gonna ask a question. How do you get all of that straight? Because I can work on 1 book at a time, and like I'm thinking about kind of sort of tangentially over here, thinking about my next book, but like most of the time I'm like, Muse, shut your face. Like, we're working on one thing here.
Yeah. Oh, I know where you are. I was there before. Like, oh my God, I got to get this. And I think when people ask me, because right now on Kindle, I have 40 published titles, but keep in mind a lot of those, well, like 15 of them are Edge parts, serials or whatever, but it looks great to be like, oh, I have 40 titles. But when I first started out, I think the reason I wrote as fast as I did was because I was trying to get it all down. I had to get it all down. But now, like a couple of years into this, I figured out that the first book is the hardest because you have to figure out who the characters are, and you have to get to know them. It's like meeting a new friend, and you get to figure out who they are inside and out. And depending on if it's fantasy or urban or contemporary, you have to figure out where you are too. If it's contemporary, you have to know the town and the people and the mood, and then fantasy is just a whole other build thing. But once you get past the first book, then you know the mood and you just build on it as you go. So I think a couple of weeks ago, like, I wouldn't have, if we had this interview, I wouldn't have been able to tell you that I was working on 3 things at one time, because I was writing the brand new one and I had to figure out who these people were. And there was since it was really heavy in the Zodiac, I had to do a lot of research or go back and uncover research I had done before to get myself familiar with it. But once you get past the first and you're writing the rest of them, it's just a mood swing. So like yesterday, when I got up, I started on the new book, because first thing in the morning, all these great ideas that you simmered on all night, and I threw them down. And then I told myself, you know, I was going to stop at this time and get this part ready for my editor. And I did. And I had to read through it. So I went from this young adults, you know, sweet, lovey thing to Edge, which is a paranormal biker romance, you know, led by a witch in New Orleans. And they're hardcore. And it's just this whole other, I don't know, like you would think I had, whatever that thing is, we have different hats, you just put it on. Because in this one book, I'm writing like some really naughty things. In this other book, I'm all like, his eyes are adorable. I mean, just
I love it.
Things to playlist and change your whole mood, and you know, maybe get a different glass of tea. I don't know.
I love it. Okay, so we have another question. So read by Amanda, who is Amanda is a fabulous girl, actually, that lives in Iowa, and so we've met, and she's an amazing little vlogger, and has like a really cool Instagram account, and so. She wants to know which book of yours that you would recommend to someone if they are just starting to read your books.
See, that's a complicated question too, because I just got asked this by like a brand new friend's neighbor like last week, and I was just like, well, what do you read? Because I got to know what you would want, because if I'm like, go check out Edge, and the hardcore stuff is not your deal, you're not gonna like it. But if you like the sweet romance, soulmate, Zodiac, alternate dimension things, I'm going to send you to Insight, because that's what that story is. It's probably one of the, I don't want to say it's the most original work of mine, but that one was a book that I wrote before I was influenced by this world that I'm in now, because now that I'm in a book world and I'm always reading constantly and seeing what other authors are doing and promoting, I feel like that's influenced a little bit of my flow. But back then I didn't know anything. I was just writing a daydream down. So Insight is where I began. And if you like the sweet romance fantasy world, that's a great place to start with me as a YA reader. And if you like something a little bit more edge and urban-ish, C would be my secondary choice to send you to, because that was the second series that I began. And this is all in the young adult world. I can definitely send you all over the place.
So we talked about earlier that C is free right now on all channels. So maybe we should do a giveaway for Amanda of Insight.
Sure.
Okay, so Amanda, you know how to find me. So email me and we will get you the first book, Insight, and then that way you can maybe try each of them and decide which way you want to go.
Insight's free too, so I can send her Embody.
Oh, there you go.
Embody's the second book in the Insight series.
Perfect. Love it. So Amanda, email me and remind me and we'll get it to you, girl.
Thanks, Amanda.
All right, we've got another one. Let's see. I lost it. So these questions pop up and they like lose all the rest of them. So I had one like prepped and ready to go. Okay, so Maggie wants to know how we met.
Me and you?
Yeah.
We just met last month. Yeah.
We did. We just met last month at Utopia.
Right. I was hanging out near Rachel Higginson and Amy Roberto, and Stormy passed by, and I'm like, let's talk. And Stormy led a great panel about marketing and reaching out and stuff, and then we had a couple other conversations. But we just met face to face last month. It was a great takeaway from Utopia in Nashville. I'm excited.
It was a lot of fun. Let's see. Oh, we have one from Kaylee Marcoe, who you also met at Utopia. And she says, it was lovely meeting and sitting next to you at the Saturday signing at Utopia. Somehow meeting you and seeing how you did things helped me relax a little during my first signing. So she didn't really have a question, but she was just giving you props.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, dude. And she had a lot of fans for sure. I'm in awe that I calmed you down, because I was like,
I love it. Okay, so we have one, well, this is more of a joke, but Trisha and Jen, who are two fantastic bloggers, want to know if you ever sleep.
Sometimes. It's rare. I do. You know, when I first started, I was an executive for a big retail company, Claire's. So like I managed like 15 stores and I had 2 small kids. And this, believe it or not, was what I did to chill. Like I would come home at night and I would, you know, after everything was done, I'd sit down on the couch. My husband was right there. We'd had our time together and I would just write. And so then sleeping was, I did still sleep, but not much. Now I sleep more because all I do is write. But it's just really, and I mean, I'm not, I do have to take some kind of breaks. I feel like I'm always editing something or reading something, but between actually throwing the words down and writing, there are pauses just to kind of, like I think you said earlier, you just have to live your life. You know, you have to find that inspiration and kind of go out. And I mean, I've gotten some inspiration just watching a baseball game, you know, in my small town or overhearing a conversation somewhere. But I do take more breaks than it sounds like, I promise.
I know how that goes. Okay, so here's one that I'm intrigued by. Casey Ann Book, who is a blogger from the UK. Casey's fantastic. She asked, what is your earliest memory of writing a story?
Of writing a story? Well, I remember, I don't even know how old I was, and it wasn't a story. It was a poem. My parents were business people, and we were traveling, and they work for newspapers. How dated is that? Because newspapers aren't really that popular right now. But my mom used to work for advertising for newspapers. So we'd go into town and they would kind of promote it, and we were moving along, and we had to sit there and be quiet and, you know, be respectful, you know, not seen, not heard. And I was just sitting there, and I remember writing a poem, and it was time to go. Like I just threw it away. And then I remember going into another office or something, and my mom came in with this crumpled up piece of paper. And she's like, did you write this? And I thought that I did something really bad. So like I cowered down like, oh, I don't know. Like would admit it. But then like, cause she was like, she had this like, oh my God, shocked look on her face. And that usually meant something wrong. But that's probably the earliest. It turned out to be great. It was a poem and it's somewhere in a book. And that's probably the earliest thing that I remember actually writing down and someone saying something about. But after that, like I never really wrote, I mean, maybe lyrical stuff or poetry, but like I never wrote a story until Insight, as odd as that is. Nothing beyond like college, they make you write, you know, stories or what have you. I did those. I wrote what I was required to write, but I never wrote for fun until I had a daydream that I just wouldn't shut up and I wrote it down.
The muse, she is so loud sometimes.
Yeah, it does. It really, and I mean, it changes everything in your life. It's kind of like, I tried to explain it to someone once. It's like falling in love, because like when you fall in love, and the great thing about being an author is you fall in love a lot, because you can fall in love with every story and every character. But when you fall in love for the first time, you put on the rose-colored glasses. Every song on the radio reminds you of what you're working on, the conversation. You find a way to work it in there. A commercial, you're like, oh my God, there's that. So it's like the entire universe conspires to feed this daydream as long as you take the time to let it grow. And then before you know it, you're like a lot of titles deep and really complicated web of hearts and souls.
I'm so glad though that you have complications, because I got to my 3rd book and I was like, why do I write so many subplots? And why are there so many characters? And what's happening?
I think that helps though, because I mean, especially in the indie market, there's so, like, I tend to hang close to the romance. I have to have a degree of romance, and I love the love stories, but I don't like like you said before, I'm not a huge fan of the outright triangles, and I'm not a fan of like someone having just one choice or that being the whole deal. Like I need a story, like I need a reason, and I got to be able to connect the dots, or the fate, and the fate can't just be, you know, somebody says you're meant to do this, or your mom was born this way. Like I need some kind of intricate plot or twist or something that's going to make me think. Like if it makes me think, I think it's that's where the pool is. So subplots, they rock, you know, and I think, and what the way that I try to write them is you don't have to like get like a migraine to read it. And if you want to get it, then you get it. And if you don't, you don't. And I've seen this in some group chats with my readers where some of them dig deep, and I'm like, I didn't even realize I connected it that way, but good job, you're right. Yeah, that does.
I love that about the muse too. Like I have found, because I'm bad at outlining, that I would plant seeds in books and I would write things that I didn't understand, but like they just had to go there. And then I get to the second book and 300 pages in, and all of a sudden like there it is. And that's why I wrote it, and it all comes together, and the muse is way smarter than me.
See, that happened to me this week. My daughter caught me reading one of my own books, like a paperback version. She's like, why are you reading your book? And I'm like, because I'm fixing to write the next one. And she was just, it didn't connect. She was like, what are you don't remember it? And I do remember it, but there are little clues in there that I needed to pull out. And as I was writing it, I was writing down notes of stuff that I remembered, because it just kind of comes back. Like, you know, an old song or something. You remember the clue that you left yourself, or sometimes you see a whole brand new road to go down, which is even more fun. So, where you spend so much time proving one point just to go back and unprove it.
I love it.
Like,
all right, so we have a question from Laura, and Laura wants to know what books have most influenced your books.
See, I think the books that have probably influenced mine the most on a wide scale are nonfiction books, as odd as that sounds. I am a huge fan of Joseph Campbell. I feel like he has a great like view on humanity, and so I loved reading through his philosophy and his, you know, his mantra that a hero of 1,000 faces. I'm probably saying that backwards, but basically he means we all have a hero, and I love that. I've always been interested in the science of Zodiac, and Zodiac runs heavy through the Insight series. I live in Nashville. I'm a huge fan of music. I can't play music. I can listen to it, but music runs thick through C. So like a lot of elements came from different versions of my life. But I'm also like a romantic at heart. So I, fell hard for, novels by Nora Roberts and Nicholas Sparks and the true love kind of thing. And at the same time, I learned from books that I didn't like that I would never mention, because if I fell in love with if a book drove me mad, I would try to figure out why it drove me mad and then fix it or like rewrite it or something, some kind of like famous trope, like where this always happens and like it bugs me, because if I start a book and I know what the ending is going to be, it bothers me. So I try to write a book where you don't know where the ending is going to be, but not where I'm all over the place. But yeah, so did I answer that? I talk in circles. I'm sorry.
No, I think you did. I mean, well, we have crazy brains. Like it comes with being an author. Like it's just kind of how we roll. So,
yeah.
We have about 10 minutes left, and I was thinking maybe our next question can be the person who gets a signed copy of Insight.
Awesome, that works.
Okay, so let's see here. Before I do this next time, I'm going to figure out how to organize these questions.
I wish I could see them. I can't see them. I don't know why.
If you go to the left-hand side where it says Q&A, it doesn't pop up the question list.
Well, I see the group chat on the side, but
is it below there? There should be like 3 lines below it should say Q&A, and then like a little graphic of a Q&A.
It just has like I can say hi. Did you see that?
All right. So it looks like actually Laura has our other question. So Laura's getting lucky. Do you prefer to handwrite first, or do you jump straight to typing?
I have the worst handwriting in the history of handwriting ever. So it's definitely a typing kind of situation. And I've saved it like when I was working and I was, at meetings or doing something, I had a crazy idea and I scratched it down. I did save notes like that, and the note app on my phone is my BFF if I'm traveling. But for the most time, I type because sometimes I can't even read it. So,
I love it. Okay, so Laura, before we go to the next question, just so you know, email me. My email's in this Q&A thread, but it's author.stormysmith@gmail.com, and we'll get you, I'll get your address and get it to Jamie, and we'll get you your copy of Insight. So Jamie, I found another one. Who is your favorite character? Who have you fallen in love with the most? And I think this can probably be either of your own characters or in someone else's world.
Oh my God. That's a hard question. I think my favorite character in someone else's book would be, I can't remember his last name. His name is Jack, and it's in Cressley Cole's YA Poison Princess novel. And he's a great character because he's Cajun and I love the way that she's brought out this brute guy in him. He's like, if I could ever write a guy like that. I mean, the way his attitude is, the way he speaks, the realness of him. I love Jack. I'm a huge fan of Jack. I would read Jack all day long. My favorite, I don't know. I think it might just be because she's in my life so much right now. It'd probably be Rebecca Beauregard, and she's the lead, one of the lead females in Edge, and she's just this very, she's a powerful woman, but she knows how to be a woman. So as a reader, you see this tough side, this persona that she portrays to the world, but you kind of see her womanhood on the inside, where she's strong enough to bend, I guess. And I love that. I love the way that she sees things and her balance and stuff. So, and Rebecca pushed me to go outside of boundaries that I was comfortable with. So she's probably my favorite right now, but like I said, it'll change. It does. It's kind of whoever's talking the loudest, and she's been talking the loudest for a good year now, just because of Edge and
Gotcha.
that series.
So since you can't see the Q&A, I'm going to read a few of these to you because people have been sending just messages to you. So Jennifer St. Anne, and I've probably pronounced that poor girl's name wrong 6 times. Where did it go? These darn questions, like they just keep popping up. But she had a lovely message for you. It said, so wonderful to finally hear your voice, Jamie. Insight is amazing, in all capital letters, my favorite by far. So that came to her, or came from her. And let's see, there was more. I can find them. We got Kaylee's saying that she enjoyed meeting you. There was one from Chantella that I can't find the exact words, but she basically said the same, that she really enjoyed meeting you at Utopia. Chantella Benson.
Such a great conference. And it's like right in my backyard too. I love it.
I know, you're lucky. That's awesome. Let's see. Well, it looks like we have time for a couple more questions. And we talked about you getting your inspiration, so we're good there. Who do you use for your cover designers?
Well, Insight, the very first one, the designer, I actually found it. Emma Michaels helped me find him, and he came out of Poland, and he made the little smoky girl. I wish I had one like close to me to show you, but it was a great design, and I worked with him for a couple of covers, but most of my covers have been made or altered or touched on by Emma Michaels, and she is amazing, and she has the patience of a saint because she deals with me. And I'm like, can you move that? Can you change that? What about this? What about that? So I love her. You got to find her.
Tweak it a little.
I'm telling you. And I'm surprised. As many as we have moved through and we are still friends, like that says a lot. Because I'm like, no, change this. And then we have gotten covers all the way to the point of we're ready to publish, and I just changed the whole thing because I've seen a stock image that's too close, because I try to be as original as I can, and that's hard because we all pull from the same pool of stock images. And I think one time I found the cover we had, and we thought it was sweet as ever, and we found it in an erotica novel, and it was going to be a really YA novel, and we had to switch it at the last second.
Oh no!
Let's try this really quick. But I mean, yeah, it works. It's a fun thing.
That's awesome.
I love Emma. And she's an author too, so I think
it looks like we have another one from Chantella. She was asking if you are completely self-published.
At this exact moment that I'm speaking to you, yes.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay, then. We'll just leave that at that.
Yeah, at 1 o'clock on the 23rd. I am self-published.
That is a fabulous thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have 3 minutes, so I will kind of throw it to you and say, is there anything, we've got 25 people viewing right now, so is there anything that you want to tell these wonderful folks about your books and kind of get them interested and maybe remind them which ones are free out there right now?
Okay, yeah. Well, free, we have Insight. That's my debut novel, and it is the YA fantasy romance. This novel has a lot to do with soulmates, so you will see the sweet love. It starts in our realm of existence, and it's going to move on to other dimensions, and it has an element of zodiac, alternate dimensions, past lives, deep connections that kind of move across the whole classic light and dark battle. That's a fun novel, and the first one's free, and then you can follow along. And at the end of anywhere you find my novels, you should sit at the bottom of it, tell you how they intertwine. So you'll figure out the order where you can just read the Insight series, or you can read it as a big thing. You'll have to figure out how you want to take your pie. C is also free right now, and it's my secondary YA romance, and it has more of an urban setting. And this one is a good music element. The lead male is Draven Michaels, and he's a singer in a band, and he plays the guitar, and his twin is Aiden, he's a drummer. It's led through Charlie Myers, and basically Charlie Myers is the female, and she had a rough night out and lost some memories, and she's trying to figure it out, what the missing pieces are and how to fix it. And these characters hear dark whispers, and basically they hear the call of the damned, and we work through how they figure out what to do with that. So that's fun, and it's a great romance, and it ties into the Insight people. 3 books in, like you would read a couple of books of C and then a couple of books of Insight, and then they kind of clash under this huge conflict. And it's really great because in the Insight series we have some hotties, and we have some distractions for our main female character, and it's kind of like you have this character and you need him to have somebody, but he can't have the heroine. Well, we kind of have a clue of who he can have, and to see people bring her in. So that's really fun, and that expands down the road. Right now, my contemporary novels aren't on, I think they're normal price right now, but there is Impulsion, and that has a YA element where those characters begin at age 17 in the contemporary world. No, they begin younger than that, at 15, and we follow their love or romance as they kind of grow up and their conflict, and where they reunite again a couple years later. So that's a sweet, like Nicholas Sparks romance, how it's meant to be. And the secondary novel in that series is Friction. And this whole base of the contemporary novels is called Station 32 because the boys grew up to be firemen at Station 32. So we have this sweet southern hometown thing. Friction is more of a new adult / adult kind of vibe because of the age of the characters and the conflicts that they're facing. But those two can be read as standalone, and they're contemporary. So if you like the sweet contemporary romance, there's some naughty parts in there, I guess, if you want to call them naughty. There's some intimate scenes in those books, just fair warning. And then Edge, I think I've mentioned a lot because, like I said, it's like right there. The very first Edge is free right now. And what Edge is a serial series, and I think that some people don't really know how to take that. But what it is, if you don't know, is kind of like if you're addicted to Netflix or any kind of episoded show, that's what you're going to get. You get these parts that would make up a whole series. So there are 12 parts in each season, and the seasons there's 12 parts in each season, and each part is around 20,000 words, which is about 4 chapters in a book. So you get it, and you should have like a little conflict that you solve in the first one, and then a huge conflict that moves over the entire season, where you get to know these characters. So season 1 is the same size as 3.5 novels. And season 1 is completely published right now, and you can get the first part for free, or you can purchase those in volumes, where like if you don't want to buy each part, you can just buy it 4 parts at a time, or you can just buy the entire season 1, because there's lots of choices to how you want to read your Edge. And if you're on Kindle Unlimited, Edge is on Unlimited, so you can grab that. And so is Impulsion and Friction. I forgot about that. And right now we are publishing season 2 of Edge, and God help me if I don't know what part's fixing to come out next week, but another part's fixing to be published on Tuesday. I don't know if because I just sent one out and I just got one back, and I don't know, there's one in the middle. Yeah, like last week I got I remember a lot of readers were coming down on me about a cliffhanger or whatever, and I was like, yeah, they were totally right. That was a really bad cliffhanger, and I expected that, and I figured out that we weren't even talking about the same cliffhanger, so like this next week's going to be brutal. But those are my books, and that's where they all are. And Edge, those series are Edge is written to kind of have that cliff, not one of those, the writer stops writing, but where just like if you're watching the Vampire Diaries and they leave and you're like, why did you end? And then everyone's on our Game of Thrones, those endings that just.
It's not that you didn't complete whatever mini story arc was there, but you just, if you wouldn't stop there, you wouldn't ever stop. It's kind of like, that's how I feel about those kind of cliffhanger moments where if I kept going, I'd have to keep going for another 20,000 words, and I have another book through.
Yeah, and I mean, I admit, because like Edge, I think, like I said, with the novels, you get to know the story, and I have gotten to know this these paranormal bikers and led by a witch in New Orleans. I've gotten to know them well and their persona. And so the speed and the intensity and the cliffs are getting bigger just because of how fast it comes out. Like it's just a boom, boom, boom kind of situation. And arc is huge. And I'm trying to get somewhere, and I think I'm getting there, but it's fun. But those are all my books, and I love talking to readers and fans, and I like talking to writers too. I like talking to everybody. So
and you're on all social channels, right, Jamie? So they can find you on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and all those places.
Absolutely. And yeah, if you visit my website, that should be able to take you anywhere and kind of help you through some of the what to read first or how to read it. The covers are all there, and the blurbs, and what's my publishing schedule for the next year is there too. So you'll see all the books that are ready to come out. So
awesome. Well, thank you so much, Jamie, for coming and hanging out with me on Bound by Duty's first book birthday. And for all of Jamie's readers that may have joined us in the last half an hour, just a quick reminder that you're here because Bound by Duty is, this is her first birthday, and she is free on all channels. So please go check out Jamie's books that are free if you haven't. Check out my book that's free. We have free books everywhere.
Yes, just take a taste. We're like dealers, just one taste.
Yes, one taste and we're hooking you in.
Yes, for sure. Well, happy birthday again. Thanks for having me.
Thank
you.
Fun.
Bye. I'm going to try to close now.
Okay, guys, we are an hour deep. We are an hour deep in this. I'm sitting in a room by myself talking to a screen, and I've been doing that for an hour. Isn't it fun? No, it was so awesome to hang out with Jamie for the last half an hour. She's super, super sweet. I knew from our first conversation at Utopia that she was somebody that I wanted to get to know, and I was actually scribbling notes as she was talking because there were some books that she was talking about that I didn't realize that she'd written those stories, and I'm definitely going to check them out. So it is time to get back into giving some stuff away and talking Bound by Duty and answering your guys' questions. So I kept the questions from our first session, and I'm just going to dive right back in. And then if for some reason we run out of questions, I have some other fun stuff that we can do. Let's take a question from Lenore. Just so you guys know, Lenore is one of my most favorite people. She has beta read my last 2 books, and she provides amazing feedback. And so I always love chatting with her, and she's one of the girls I got to meet at Utopia. Lenore lives in Canada. And she asked if I'm planning any more dance video sequels. Oh, goodness. So for those who don't know, you should visit my YouTube page because I got a wild hair right before Spells released, and I filmed a spoof video of Taylor Swift's Shake It Off. And it was a lot of fun. Honestly, like, it really wasn't that hard. My wonderful husband put up with 3 days of filming, helping me get all the scenes right, and I used iMovie to pull it all together, and it was a lot of fun. So it kind of makes fun of and celebrates the world of being an author. So if that's something that intrigues you, go to my YouTube channel and check that out. And, you know, Lenore, I probably should do a new video for Prophecy. I mean, maybe this could be a thing. I don't know. Maybe I'll start taking submissions for songs that I should do my spoof to, because why not? I can actually sing too, so I wouldn't even necessarily have to lip sync, but that's what I did do for Taylor Swift. So we shall see. I will ponder that. Good question. So Kaylee asked, do I have any musts while writing? For instance, is there a specific playlist, or do I like silence, a glass of wine, tea? Do I sit and not move until I hit a word goal? What does my writing environment look like? I wish it was easier to move my laptop. It's wired to all kinds of things right now so that we can do all this. But I would show you my writing room. I am a really organized person normally, you guys. Like, for real, I used to be so organized. Now, not so much. So my writing room is kind of a disaster. My desk is even more of a disaster. Like, it's organized chaos in here. But I would say prior to writing the end of Prophecy's first draft, I would have told you that I could only write to silence or classical music. And I really preferred like piano classical or sometimes violin. I tried to get into listening to like trance. One of my author friends recommended that, and I was trying to get into it just from like keeping the pace, and like when I was writing spells, it was a lot of action, and I was like, you know, that trance stuff, and it didn't work. Like, it made me want to punch people, so that was not it. But then when I got to writing the end of Prophecy, I found the new Mumford and Sons album, and I love them. Like, love that album. If you have not listened to the album, go to Spotify and like make that happen. But I ended up listening to that entire album on repeat for days. Like, I was fugue state writing for like 2 straight weeks. I think I pumped out like 25,000 words in 2 weeks or something crazy to finish Prophecy because it was the book that would never end. And the lyrics in Mumford and Sons just really called to me, and it was the perfect writing soundtrack. And I really think it had a lot of influence in the back end of Prophecy. So I really enjoyed that. Outside of that, I really like to have like 2 glasses of wine and then write. That's my favorite state of writing because I'm doing so much all the time that my brain goes at just like rapid fire all the time. And I tend to overanalyze, overthink, be very distracted. And so a couple glasses of wine and like I can really focus on the characters and the words and everything that I've got going on. And so that is my favorite writing space. Other than that, I would say it's first thing in the morning. I did that today. Yesterday, I got home from work with the intent of editing, but I had had such a crazy day that like I couldn't bring my mind back down to that slow simmer that you need when you're editing. And so this morning, I got up at 6 and went downstairs and I made tea and I just started editing. And you have such a clear head at that time. Jamie talked about that, you know, ideas have been simmering all night and nothing has overwhelmed you and there's been no chaos, and that's a really quiet, wonderful writing time. So hopefully that answered your question, Kale. Lenore should be everyone's most favorite people. She is amazing. I would agree with you there, sister. So Tia asked, when you first started writing, was it hard to express yourself on paper or did the words just flow? And what advice would you give someone with aspirations of writing? I'm going to take a drink real quick. So I feel like this is the first time I feel like I'm the right person to ask this question. A lot of times people ask me questions about becoming an author and they say, you know, you always want to do this and you always knew you were meant for this. And you know, I'm not that person. I always knew that I could write things, but I wrote like newspaper style, like the 5 W's and really concise. And I never thought that I had it in me to write a book. And so sitting down to do it, because the words just kind of appeared in my brain, that was different. But once I got past those few chapters that kind of just came to me and I had to really figure out where the story was going next, I found that I need kind of different mediums to write in, I guess. I don't know if that's the right word. Sometimes I need to type, and sometimes I need to free write on these giant Post-its that you see behind me. Sometimes those are outlines. Sometimes those are just me talking out loud and like trying to think my way through a situation. And that's when I'm like playing music and I'm trying to inspire myself and I've locked myself in a room. And that's how I try to get that inspiration going. My biggest advice, I would say, if you're in a place where you've started writing and you've hit a wall or you've hit a challenge point or you don't know what to do next, we talk a lot in my writing group about writing through the crap and being okay with the fact that there's gonna be crap. Like, you're gonna put words on the page that you know suck and you know are terrible, and you know that you're gonna have to go back and fix them later and probably delete them. But you write through that crap and you get to the other side and it becomes awesome because there's something in the crap that you wrote that you needed. whether it was the realization that you didn't need that scene at all, or there's some tiny nugget of something you can pull out and toss the rest, that moment is something that you have to push through. And it's really hard because you feel like you're wasting time and you're wasting energy and you're going down wrong paths, but you just have to give your brain the time to do it. And I would say I go against the grain because there are a lot of people who say you have to write every day, write every day, write every day. I don't agree with that. I don't live a life that is conducive to writing every day. If I didn't take a break and give my brain time to decompress and to chill out and to really marinate on where my story's going, I don't think that it would be as good. And I don't think, I think I would throw away more words. And so I would say when you start writing a book, and I hope that you do, Tia, it sounds like that's something you're interested in, don't let anyone tell you how to do it. And that's really hard. And like, I have a very rule following, show me how it's done so that I can do it too personality. And one of the hardest things that I've learned in the last year is that there are no hard and fast rules about how you do this. You do it however it makes sense to you. Jamie can write 5 things at once. I cannot. So find your groove, and I hope that you do, and I hope that you love it because it's pretty awesome. Okay, let's get down here. So Laura wants to know, how many times did I send off my manuscript before someone took it on? She has a friend who is trying to get his taken on with no luck. Well, Laura, I'm actually self-published, so I didn't have to send my manuscript to anyone. I think that I have nothing against traditional publishing. I actually hope to one day be hybrid published and have books that are traditionally published, because I think that there is a certain amount of reader validity that comes from that, and there is definitely exposure that comes from that you can't get in a lot of other places. And, bottom line, it would be pretty freaking awesome to walk into Target and see my name like on their bookshelf. So of course that's an aspiration, but I would tell your friend, if it's not going where he wants it to go and he's not getting the response that he wants to get from agents, first really look hard at the pages that you're sending and look hard at that manuscript and make sure that it doesn't need developmental editing and that you don't need to take another pass at it. And is it really as good as it can be? If it is, and you're just not able to cut through the content, the glut of content that these poor agents are being inundated with, then self-publish. At the end of the day, the more I research and the more I learn, there's a misnomer out there that if you are traditionally published, all you have to do is write the book. And maybe 10 years ago, that's what it was, but that's not what it is anymore. And so you will have the same marketing expectations that I have of myself. So I would really suggest to him to look strongly at self-publishing, because there's a certain amount of freedom that comes from knowing that at any time you can change your content, you can change your cover, you can change your price, you can put it on sale, you can do whatever you want, and you don't have those with traditional publishing. So just some food for thought. I hope that helps. Let's see. Amanda wants to know, what do I do if I hit a wall when I'm writing? So the good news is I have never had writer's block. I'm knocking on it's probably fake wood, I don't know, but I'm knocking on it because I've never had writer's block. I've had moments where I don't know where the story's going, but not moments where no words would come, because words will always come. Not always, they won't always, because people get writer's block. For me, so far, they have always come, but that doesn't mean that they always will. I would say that the time I take away from the story and the time I spend observing the rest of the world and truly listening to song lyrics and just letting the thoughts marinate and having brainstorming phone calls with my rebel writers, those are the moments that get me through those times when it's hard and the words are elusive. The storyline is elusive to me. Let's see. Oh, Chantella, we just answered that one too. You asked the same question, so we got that one handled. Let's see. Trisha and Jen noted, do I have any type of routine when I'm writing? And I lost their, oh, here it is. So, oh gosh, do I? It's weird to stop and think about. I don't think that I have a routine when I'm writing. I really just sit down and do it. I think the challenging part is that I have a routine when I sit down at a computer at all. And that is generally that I cycle through all of the appropriate social media sites because I am always marketing, and getting my book out there is really important to me. And having authentic, personal relationships with my readers is really, really important to me. And so I would never allow anyone else to do my social media because I want it in my voice and I want it real, and I want people to know that they're talking to me. And so when I sit down at a computer, the first thing I do is cycle through, you know, Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and Tumblr and whatever is kicking out there. And so that is really distracting. But I find that if I can not get lost in it and just be very intentional about responding where I need to respond and not getting lost in like Facebook land, then I can tell myself like, okay, now you can turn that off and it's time to write. So I would say that I don't really have a routine other than that, and then making sure that I have some kind of music. And I try to take breaks, and I try to give myself time away from the keyboard. I have actually some tendon strain randomness issues in my right arm, and so I have to ice it quite often. And basically when you do this all the time, like your arm gets kind of pissy about it. But outside of those things, I really just sit down, and it's a matter of putting your butt in the chair. That's really what it is. Let's see here. So Crystal asked a really interesting question. She asked, have you ever looked back on a character and thought, maybe I should have done that one different? I'm being really bad about giving away prizes, you guys. Somebody's gotta comment in the Q&A and be like, prize, lady, prize. So I'm gonna backtrack just a second before I answer this question. Laura, if you are still on here, you asked a really awesome question about publishing for your friend, and that's awesome of you to be looking out. So I want to give you an ebook of Bound by Spells. So reminder to everybody who's on, Bound by Duty is free right now, so please, please check it out if you haven't. And Laura, email me at author.stormysmith, all one word, @gmail.com. It's in this thread somewhere. And I will send you an ebook of Bound by Spells, and then you have both of my babies, and you can check them out. And I'm going to do the same for Crystal, whose question I'm answering right now. Crystal, if you're on, snatch up Bound by Duty on your favorite retailer, and then email me, and I will get you spells. And I'm going to answer your question. So, have I looked back on a character and thought maybe I should have done that one different? I don't think that there is a character I would have written differently. I think that there are plot pieces I would have handled differently. I said earlier, I think maybe in the first session, that I have a tendency to overcomplicate my plots. I like to work in a lot of twists and a lot of turns, and because I have a tendency to see plot lines coming, I like to try to keep the reader on their toes as much as I can, but sometimes that creates just more complexity than is necessary. So if I were going to go back to Bound by Duty, there are a few things that I would change and just simplify the story. There's none I'm going to tell you, but there are definitely things about that one that I would change. Bound by Spells, gosh, I think that's something that I'm the most proud of to date. I think Prophecy is going to surpass it for me, but right now, Bound by Spells came together in a really amazing way, and there's nothing about that story that I would change. No, that's one of my favorites. So I apologize, that's kind of a half-baked answer, but the good news is you got an ebook out of it, so make sure you email me. I know that, oh, here we go. Sarah had asked me earlier in the first session, how do I write male characters so authentically? And I think as much as my husband might be annoyed by the fact that sometimes I steal his lines and model some of my male characters after him, I have spent 15 years with the same guy, and I he has two brothers and comes from a very male-dominated, ginormous family. I mean, my last name is Smith. You can only imagine how many cousins there are. And so I spend a lot of time really just paying attention to the mannerisms, and Abe and I have a lot of conversation about how different men and women are. One of my favorite things about our relationship and our marriage is the fact that we are two 100% different people. Like, he likes video games and he's scientific and he's very practical and logical and like has zero, well, not zero, but minimal emotional intuitiveness of like reading a situation, where I am exactly the opposite. I am like, give me a fantasy story, and like I'm kind of 12 kinds of everywhere, and I think science is boring most of the time, and I hate video games. So it's awesome that we think so differently, because we have so many conversations about those differences. And I think because we've had so many conversations and I've been able to observe so much behavior, I've actually been able to model my male characters better, and to write, Bound by Spells is written half in Aiden's perspective. And I was able to do that because I could kind of take myself out of my own mind and put myself in my husband or any guy that I've really interacted with, and engage those reactions and emotions or lack thereof, or little things. Like I had my husband read a passage and he said, he's never gonna know what color her shirt is. And I'm thinking, really? Like, she's wearing a bright pink shirt. And he's like, he doesn't care. And so things like that help teach me just to be more, sometimes that's stereotypical, but I think that as a generalization, those types of things work and are helpful. So Maggie asked, what am I reading right now? And what is my favorite thing that I have read this summer? So right now I am reading Rachel Higginson's Siren series. I was thinking about the book names and not the series name. And it is mythology based. And Rachel posted a really long blog post about this book, and she did a lot of mission work when she graduated college, and she was personally exposed to women who were who had to deal with human trafficking and had been human, like, sex slaves essentially. And so when she wrote this series, and I didn't know this, there are some ties to that, and some ties to a really important cultural topic that a lot of people want to not pay attention to. And it was something that was really near to her heart. And so when I found out all of that, I had actually been actively avoiding that series because I thought I wanted to write something mythology based next, and I didn't want that to influence my story. But once I understood those ties, like, I just couldn't walk away from it. And I'm only maybe 30% into the first book, but it's really, really fantastic. So if you like mythology-based books, please check out the Siren series by Rachel Higginson. And I'm fairly certain that the first book is free, so on all platforms. So check that out. And my favorite thing I've read this summer, oh my gosh, all I've done is write. So I don't know. Isn't that so sad, Maggie? I don't have any favorites yet. I clearly need to get reading, because the only thing that I have done is read my own book, because I've been trying to write it and get this draft done for you guys. Okay. So we have about 4 minutes, and I am going to be dialing in Carlyle Labuschagne, who is joining us all the way from South Africa, and I hope you guys stay on. She is a really, really amazing person, and she writes some really awesome books, so definitely hang with me. I am going to answer one more question before I start to dial her in. Let's see. Okay, I think I'm going to answer both of these at the same time. So Kirsten asked a loaded question. She says, is there anything new coming down the pipeline other than prophecy? And Amanda also asked, would I ever branch out into other genres? And those two actually tie together. So I explained this in the first session, but for you guys that are new joining, I am going to be branching out into a new genre. Sort of new. So Bound by Duty is considered a lot of things. So it's considered new adult fantasy, it's considered paranormal romance, it's considered young adult. It's kind of all over the board. And I wrote a clean new adult book very intentionally, because there's not a lot of those out there. And I wanted this book to be accessible to a lot of people. I wanted librarians to be okay stocking it, and I wanted kids to be able to read it. And I tell people that 7th grade and up, this is appropriate. So I decided that after the Bound series, which I have invested roughly the last 2.5 years of my life in, I am going to write a new adult contemporary romance. So it will also be clean so that those readers who stick with me and transition will get a book that seems familiar and in style for what they've read from me before. It just won't have the magic. And I already know the plot line. I already kind of know where it's going. It just appeared one day. That's kind of what happens with the muse. She just does what she wants. And so I have the synopsis written and I have a good idea, and I'm going to start outlining it probably while Prophecy is off to beta readers at the end of August. So I'm really excited. I'm hopeful that I can get it out faster than I normally get out books. Usually it's about 8 months, and I'm hoping I can do more like 6 just because it'll be a shorter story, but I'm making no promises. But yes, so I'm really excited. I'm really, really excited about it, and I hope you guys take a chance on it and that you stick with me and know that Prophecy ends this story's arc. These 3 books give you the completion of Amelia and Naden that you're looking for. But I have left enough doors open in this story that this world will not end, and I will come back and there will be more books. I super duper promise, because I've built characters that I love and that I can't walk away from and that still have stories to tell, but I want to do those stories justice. So I'm going to take a step back and then kind of regroup, give my brain a little bit of break, and then we'll come back and we'll get back into Bound, and who knows what the next one's going to be called. It's going to be exciting stuff. So, Kirsten, I hope that answers your question. Let's see, it's 1:29. Let's see if there is another question in here. Okay, I think I have caught them all. I think so. So I am going to work on dialing in Carlyle. So you guys hang with me real quick. I am going to see if I can get her in with us. Okay. Okay, so the message should have just gone to her. So hopefully it'll take her just a second and she will be joining us. And Carlyle is going to be giving away some ebooks as well. So hang with us and be ready to get your questions answered. P.S. like while she's coming, you guys probably are noticing me messing with my hair all the time. I can't deal. And I'm chopping it off soon. Totally sidebar, but that's happening. Okay, we answered this one. Looking to see if there are any other questions that snuck in here. I want to thank all of you guys who are commenting with just your thank yous and acknowledging that your questions have been answered. It's so fun to read all of these and to have you guys here and engaging. I mean, I am sitting in a room for 2 hours, and so it's a lot of fun to have you here and have you hanging out. So thank you so much for that. Oh. Carlyle?
Can you hear me?
Yes. I can barely see you though.
When it comes to technology, I swear.
Okay, can you? I can barely see you though. Can you turn a light on?
Okay, let me see. I've actually I've put 2 lights on. We're on energy saving globe, so the light is really bad in here. I do apologize. Let me see if I can adjust the other light. Can you hold on 1 second?
Yeah.
Okay. Does that look better?
Yeah, that does look a bit better.
Okay.
Okay, so what time is it in South Africa right now?
It's not too late. It's about 8:30 at night. But it's winter, so I've got like a jersey on and
So tell us a little bit, Carla, like where do you live in South Africa and like what, how did you get to this place where you're an author?
I live in Johannesburg. It is more city environment, but what I love about Johannesburg is you can drive 15 minutes away and you can go hang out with a giraffe or a lion. So I love it here. How I became an author, I started writing at a very young age. And it wasn't until I had both my kids that I just felt something is needed in my life. So I started writing my first book, The Broken Destiny. And I just knew from the moment I started it that it was going to be, this is what I'm going to do. This is me, this is my path, this is where I'm at.
Awesome. So what we're going to do, just to kind of acclimate you to kind of what we have kicking, is you should on the left side of your screen, Carlyle, see a little Q&A blue button. Do you see that? Like when you hover over the left side? If you click on that, it'll open a string of questions. And so those will pop up as people ask them, and I will like pick them and ask you the questions, but this way you can also see them because some people will just respond. To everybody who's watching, if you can make sure that you put Carlyle's name in front so I know that it's a question for her versus a question for me, that would be helpful as we go to ask questions. Let's start with you talking a little bit about your books. So I know that today we're giving away some ebooks, but which books, which series, what are we talking about today?
I'm giving away one of each book to 4 readers of the winner's choice. So if they want all of the books that are available, and then I have 2 anthologies. I've got Light in Darkness. And then I've also got Absolution. That's a self-published book. So if if the reader chooses that. The Broken series is based upon genetically enhanced humans that have been exiled from South Africa onto a planet. And they are mutants, but they kind of like a dystopian setting where they're not allowed to tap into their emotions and live their powers out. So it's about a girl who the society can't really keep her down. She knows something's wrong, and then when she meets a guy, chaos, just like beautiful chaos, and they just take over the whole planet. And it's about her journey going through a really bad struggle and finding herself and loving herself. It is all about the journey and being yourself at the end of the journey, your own hero.
Awesome. That sounds wonderful.
Thanks.
We were just having this conversation. One of the readers asked me what my favorite thing that I've read this summer was, and I said, I have not gotten to read anything. Like, I've been so busy writing that I have not gotten to read. And so between you and Jamie, I'm like scribbling all these books down that I have to go get.
Oh, I know the feeling. I think I've been on one book for the last, since I've left for Utopia in June. I'm almost done with that book. But writing takes up a lot of time.
Yes. So before we dig into questions, the other thing that I wanted you to talk to everyone about that I think is so special, and one of the most amazing things about you is that you have this huge heart for kids who need books. And so can you talk a little bit about what you're doing in South Africa for the kids that are in your area?
The passion for that started, growing up in the apartheid era. We were banned from so many things coming into the country. And when I just think back of excuse my language, the crappy books that we had to be forced with, I wasn't really interested in school. And I made really bad choices. I hung out with the wrong people. And it's part of the journey. It's part of who I am. So I don't regret it. But there are things that kids could be doing rather than going through, peer pressure. Grab a book. It's a companion. It's you learn through books. I think that's really important. And when I go to these schools and I look at their library, I'm really, really shocked. They have books, leather bound, brown, no pictures, and I'm thinking, you know what, it's no wonder our kids don't read. Out of our population, there's 41,000 regular readers out of 40 million. So So that's telling you how big a gap there is in our education system, that the kids just don't read. I'm surprised if maybe 20% of the schools have libraries, and I feel it's really important for me to bring young adult books to, you know, the growing youth. And if they have those kind of stories, it will inspire them to tell stories and become different people.
That's awesome. I love everything about that. One of my passion points is kids and literacy, and so I spend a lot of time with kids in my community, and it's just one of the most amazing things to watch them love books.
It just hurts that, you know, some kids, they don't have anybody to talk to, and if they have a book, they can relate and they can learn from that. And, you know, they need to know that they're not alone, that there are characters out there that experience the same feelings, emotions, and awkwardness.
Absolutely. So we've got a few questions for you. So I'm going to dive into this. Let's see. So Trisha and Jen, they're a pair of bloggers that are really awesome. They asked, is there anything that you're working on right now?
Oh, I work on like 6 books at a time.
What is it with you crazy people? Jen, the same thing.
Right now, I'm really focusing on a new adult book. It is clean at the moment. There are some hot scenes, but I'm not the kind of 50 Shades get really... And I'm enjoying it. It's a crime, a romance, and I'm trying to create a lot of tension between the characters, a lot of tension. I don't know if you've ever read The Poison Princess. Have you read that?
I haven't, but should I write it down?
But it's inspired me to put so much tension between the 2 main characters. So I'm really working on this crime, romance. It is sweet, and when I'm writing it, because I'm used to writing sci-fi, and I love sci-fi, and I love paranormal, and now I'm writing this new adult, you know, they're older, they don't have powers, and I'm thinking, am I going to get bored? But, you know, these guns, these bombs, and there's the tension between the
guns and bombs.
And there's, you know, I'm really enjoying just the simple life, and I'm really hoping that this book should be coming out by the end of the year. It's called Infallible. It's going to be about 35,000 words. And right now I'm halfway between the final draft and the ending. So let's see how that goes. I'm also working on the Broken Diary series, so that will be the young adult side, where every character gets a little short story in between the novels to tell their point of view. And I'm writing from the villain side, and I must tell you, I'm so loving it. I love it. It's just they think so differently, and it's fun because they don't have regrets, they don't have a conscience, and they just go, and you know, this is what his focus is, and no matter what it is, the bad guy's gonna get the shit done. Excuse my language.
Don't worry about it.
There's a whole bunch of things I'm working on, but those are the 2 books I'm focusing for this year.
Okay, fantastic.
Oh, there is a sequel project. Oh, sorry. I get so carried away. My publishers have asked me to write a young adult series. It's a secret project that I'm going to just write. It's called Origin, and it's going to involve shifting, gargoyles, we're thinking romance. So that should be coming out with Firecore Publishing in February.
Wow, you do have a lot kicking, girl.
I do.
So Trisha and Jen, I'm not sure which one of you guys is on, or if both of you are, but email me and we'll get you a set of Carlyle's books. So that was a fun question.
Thanks for the questions.
All right. So Laura Chisnell asked, if you could only read one book right now, what would it be?
One book right now? I am really loving Poison Princess at the moment. I know it's a really old book, but I'm really intrigued about the conflict between the characters. The other night I was reading it and my chest hurt, and I was like, how can this guy be so mean to her? They're supposed to be together. And I just love the way that she created the conflict, that I was literally like, my chest ached like someone was hurting me. And I'm really enjoying that book. And I'll probably read it again, and I don't read a lot of books again. I'm learning from the book. I think that's why I'm enjoying it so much.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. And I think you probably run into the same problem I do, where it's so hard to read books for enjoyment anymore because your eye is so trained to read to edit that if you find yourself editing, like, you can't enjoy it anymore.
I didn't have English at school as a first language, so it is imperative for me to read English all the time. And sometimes if I'm writing a certain genre, then I'll go and grab a quick read in that genre. And it's true, you get like, oh, really? And sometimes you just have to pick up a book that's got nothing to do with learning, just for pleasure, and then surprisingly you do learn from it.
Yes, I agree.
Did I answer the question?
I think so.
Okay, thanks for the question.
All right, so we have another one from Amanda, and Amanda wants to know, what is your favorite thing about being an author?
Hi, Amanda. My favorite thing would be being an author. I love telling stories. I've always loved telling stories, and in the beginning it was enough for me just to be telling stories and knowing that someone's picking up my book and learning from it and experiencing from it and hopefully getting that escapism that I want from stories. But you know what? Surprisingly, it's given me wings. I've become a better person. I've done so many things that I never thought I, as a person, would be capable of. I've seen so many things. I've traveled. I've met wonderful people like you, Stormy. I mean, it's a journey that doesn't end. Its possibilities are endless.
Isn't that the most fun thing, is that it doesn't matter what you're working on today. Like, you have no idea what the next story might be and where it will take you and what will become of it.
I love that. Yes, the unpredictability is certainly addictive.
It is, and I was like a type A, like, crazy person, rules.
Control freak.
And now, like, it's all gone, and I love it, and it's very freeing and really fantastic.
And it's also liberating, like when I look around the house and I'm like, you know what, those toys on the cupboard would have bugged me, but you know what, as long as you're happy, I'm happy.
I so very much agree. Okay, so what do we got here? Let's pick another one out to give a prize to. Okay, so Karen, she's new. I haven't had a question from her yet. Karen wants to know, where did Karen's question go? Hold on, this little thing likes to update on me. Okay, what is the most amazing moment for you since you published? That's the question, and I'm gonna say, Karen, email me at authorstommysmith@gmail.com and we'll get some of Carlyle's books to you. But
hi, Karen, how are you? Is it Karen Swart I'm seeing?
Yes.
Okay. That's a very South African name. If she's from South Africa, hi. I have to say I have a lot of moments. I can't define one moment, but Utopia, the first one, was last year. That was really, really great moment for me. I've always didn't quite fit in, much like the characters in my book. I think it's because I thought differently than other people do, and I see and feel differently than people do. I just see and feel more. And when I went to Utopia, I can't tell you how terrified I was. Here I am from a little city in South Africa. Nobody knows me. And when I got there, it's like, wow, it blew my mind. Everybody was like so welcoming, and everybody was on the same playing field. Like, nobody looked down at anybody. Everybody loved me for my silliness and my quirkiness and the stupid things I said, and maybe the stupid things I did. And I was so loved that going back this year, I was totally so free. I was totally so in my element that it's elevated me as a person and the way that I write and see things. And that must have been one of my most defining moments. But with that comes so much more, because once you open up yourself, everything just comes to you.
I agree. It's an interesting thing to be an author and to spend so much time alone, but then to be in a room with all of these other authors and have this set of people who finally understand all of the crazy things that happen in your head and all the things that you obsess over. And It's fantastic.
And we mustn't forget that the readers and the support that I get on social media, I'm sure every author feels like it. It blew me away. I was like, wow, these people are so giving and loving, and they expect nothing in return. And I just want to give all my books away and say thank you for supporting me. And so thank you to the readers. I mean, without them, none of it would be possible. Like, why would I even want to go sign books in the States?
Right. I mean, how long is that flight for you?
18 hours if you're going straight. This year we took connecting flights to save a little bit of money, and that was disaster. I'd never do that again. It's about 40 hours on and off.
That's terrible.
I feel sick just thinking about it.
Okay, let's move on. Okay, so let's see here. So Lenore wants to know if you have a favorite book of yours that you have written, and she qualifies and says, or is that like asking a mother to pick her favorite child?
Yeah, a little bit, but you know what? The Broken Destiny, of course, was my favorite because it was, in a sense, me coming out of my shell and then putting it in the story, and you know, all my life's experiences. But that's a long time past now. And Dead of Night, it is going through re-edit at the moment, but there's just something about the way that I wrote that book. It was just so much simpler, and it just flowed like just. I think I wrote that book in about 5 weeks. I really enjoyed writing that book, and it's one of my favorites at the moment.
Awesome. Okay. How about Cindy Ray Hale wants to know how you cure writer's block, or do you get writer's block?
I do get writer's block. Evanescent, my second book, it's such a beautiful book. It's such a long book. It's such a complicated book. After I started reading reviews on my first book, The Broken Destiny, I took it really hard. And then eventually you're just like, you know, your husband says you just get over it. Everyone's not going to like your stuff. And you're like, oh, but then they're not going to like me. And then with Evanescent, like, everybody was really picking on my character. And because for me, it was the first book, I struggled because you need to know who the character was in order for you to find, you know, appreciate who she is going to be, who she's turning into. So when the second book came, I've written that 12 times. I could probably write it again, but I'm just going to leave Evanescent as it is. When I write a scene that's really dark and that's really like I'm really digging really deep into things that nobody should know, where my mind wanders to sometimes, then I feel like under pressure and I can't write and nothing wants to come out and I'm trying to force things to come out. The best thing to do is just walk away. Just get up, walk away. What usually works for me is I just leave it for about 2 or 3 days and I'm just in my world. Like swimming really works for me. Like I go and swim and all of a sudden like the ideas will come. Music works as well. Like song will spark me like, oh, okay, I know how to get over the scene now. So writer's block will just, I think it's just you being scared of something coming out. That's for me anyway. So then I just put it aside and then eventually you have to say to yourself, look, you have to go back and you have to get it done and then you get over it. You do get over it, but you have to make that choice to open yourself, to let something in and then get over it.
I love it.
I hope that makes sense.
I think, well, as an author, that makes perfect sense, but hopefully as a reader, that makes sense too. Okay, let's do another little giveaway. So who's the first question I find? Okay, so Maggie Martin, I'm giving you a set of Carlyle's books, so make sure you email me and you know how to find me. And Maggie's question is, how do you keep all of your characters and all of your storylines straight?
I have no idea. Sometimes I wonder, what the hell am I doing? I don't plot at all. I do not plot.
Me neither.
I have tried plotting and then I just like, this is not working. As I write, it comes to me, the characters come to me. I have started realizing the more books I'm writing, the more I have to actually put a file together and put a character profile together. I have realized there are some similarities with the Broken novels and Dead of Night while I was re-editing it today, and I was thinking, ooh, oops, the story is almost the same, but not quite. So you do, I think the best thing to do is make a profile. And I find that if you're really in the scene, it helps to bring out the character, and then you separate the characters. And sometimes they need to look a little bit different or be in a different era. But I still mix up stories. Are like a jumble in my head. So I can just say by the grace of God I haven't mixed. Can you imagine?
That's funny. That's true though. I'm with you there. Okay, so we have about 7 minutes left, and I'm going to do a quick commercial break for. I saw that there are a bunch of new viewers here that haven't been on earlier, and so to remind you guys why you're here because it's Bound by Duty's first birthday. That is my. Yes, thank you. So this is my baby for anybody who hasn't seen her. It is a clean new adult fantasy series, and right now you can get Bound by Duty free on any platform you read on. So if we have any new readers who haven't heard of it, I hope that you take a second and check it out. Hopefully you will enjoy it. And we have more questions for you, Carlyle. People aren't stopping.
Hey, thank you. Hello.
Let's see, what do we got here? So Laura asks, where do you get your inspiration? Do you take it from what you see or music or something else entirely?
I take it from everywhere, I must admit. My first writing piece when I was 12 came from a tree. And when I looked at the tree, I was like, this tree just, I see the whole picture. And sometimes I listen to the song and it's a whole picture, it's a whole story. Sometimes I'll watch a story on, like a movie, and I'll think, wow, these two characters are really fabulous. What if these two characters, so it's always what if is always on my mind, but anything can really, really, really trigger an inspiration. But mostly I get inspired when something really touches me, when I really feel it inside, and I want other people to experience that same kind of wandering place that my mind and my heart is going to.
Yes, absolutely. I think that's fabulous. I'm going to ask you one more question, and I would say, Carlyle, before you go away, make sure you scroll through this Q&A, because some of the folks who have asked you questions have actually been following up with other comments. So
okay.
Okay, the last one that you have to answer, and this one I'm interested in. How hard has it been to get your already published works in South America to the US and other countries?
It is much easier, believe it or not, to get my work into the States than what it is to get it here. It has recently just changed. That's why we founded a publishing company together, but still it works out cheaper for us to print our books in the States and then have them shipped here. The quality is also better. So Amazon is the best for us. And then the distribution here is working out, but it's really not that hard to get my books into the US and the UK because there are those resources available. Other countries, I'm not sure. I haven't really researched like the Asian countries, but I know that my books have been all over the world. It just depends what distribution channels the publishing company is using at the time. England's is a really good distribution channel.
Awesome. Okay, well, I think that is about it. And thank you so much for taking time out to come and hang out with us. And I hope I introduced you to some new readers.
And thank you so much for having me. And have a wonderful book party.
Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. So, mwah. Make sure you scroll through that right-hand side, and then everybody else, everyone, we've got like 20 viewers or something on still. So you guys, thank you so much for being here, for spending 2 freaking hours with me while I sat in a room and talked to a computer screen. It's been lots and lots of fun. So Carlyle, you have a wonderful evening, my dear, and everybody else, I will be back on at 7 p.m. Bye.
Bye.
All right, see you guys soon. Come back for more tonight, 7 to 9. We have 2 more authors. We have Elise Arden, who's going to be talking about The Casquette Girls, which is an amazing, amazing, amazing New Orleans-based novel, witches, vampires, all kinds of paranormal. And we have Heather Hildenbrand, who writes the Dirty Blood series and the Imitation Deviation series. And there's going to be so much kicking tonight. It's going to be all kinds of fun. If you want a prize, please make sure you email me at authorstormysmith@gmail.com. Thank you guys so much for being with me and for asking questions and for making the last 2 hours so much fun. So I will talk with you soon. Bye.